안녕하세요. Alright, I'm going to show you the rules of pro bending and how the game is played in a really basic way. This is the basic shape of the ring. It's a hexagon. It gets more narrow towards the ends, and you've got two teams of 3 players, and at the start of the match they face off like this. This is the center line, and it's basically 3 zones in each. So we have zone 1, these first 2. Zone 2 is here, and then zone 3 is back. And as you can see, each zone gets smaller and smaller as you're towards the back. There's only ropes on the sides of the ring, and those ropes are like a boxing ring or a kickboxing ring. So they're, they bounce and flex. But on the back, there are no ropes. And the main objective of the game is for one team, let's say the black team here, to push members of the other team back. Push them back again, and then ultimately push them off the back of the zone. And then obviously the purple team wants to push the black team back, and then off the back of the ring. So when gameplay starts, let's say, both teams have to start in zone 1. That means, the purple team, they have to stay inside this zone right here. Actually, let me do it like this. Purple team has to stay in this green section. They can move, they can move around. This guy, he can run over here, he can go over here, he can go anywhere. But as long as he stays in zone 1. Now, the black team is trying to push him back with bending. And their goal is to get him to step over the line. And I'll zoom in there. As soon as his foot goes over the line, he's out of zone 1. So now he has just been demoted to zone 2. And he has to stay in zone 2 and play from this area. And again, he can move all around zone 2 and play from here. But he's not allowed to cross the line forward. Now if the black team pushes him back again, and he crosses that line, now he's stuck in zone 3. And he has a smaller space to fight from. And so he can move around here, but this is all he's got. He can't bounce against the ropes, and he's got nothing to lean against. And if he can't fight his way out of there, then he gets knocked off and he falls far below into the water. So that's that. And the same goes for the black team. They have the same, 3 zones. So how does the team, what we call gain territory? They're trying to move forward themselves. So one way to, the way to do that is, if the black team wants to move forward into the purple team's zone 1, they need to, first push this guy out, get this guy out, and then the second they get that guy, the 3rd member across the line, then this line lights up, and it means it's okay for these guys to now move forward. So we got, at that point, the black team gets to move forward. So now they have to, the black team has to stay in the purple team's zone 1. They can't go back into their old zone, and they can't step forward. They have to fight from in here. And so obviously, they're going to want to keep pushing people back. So let's say they manage to push these guys back again. They get this guy into this zone, this guy, even if they knock him off, you know, same thing, and this guy into this zone. So the second that happens, this line lights up, and it means these guys get to move forward now. So once again, he comes forward, he comes forward, he comes forward. Now, this means now that obviously these guys have to stay in zone 3. They can't step over the line. They have to push these guys out first. And then these guys have to stay in zone 2. And then obviously they have the advantage. They have the bigger space. These guys have the smaller space to fight out. So, but it's not over. They could push them back. So if the purple team manages to push the black team back, they knock that guy back, they knock this guy back, they might even knock this guy back too, then this line will light up. Sorry I didn't prepare that. But this line will light up, and purple team gets to move forward. So they can regain territory. You can fight your way back. Now, let's say every round is 3 minutes, and there's 3 rounds. So one way to win the round is to gain territory by the end of the round. So if the round ended right here, the black team wins the round, because they have gained territory, and these guys are pushed back. Obviously, if these guys, well, let's wait, let's do it the right way. If the round ended like this, these guys, the purple team wins, because even though no one's gained territory, they pushed one guy back. Otherwise, it's even. There's a couple other, ways it could play out. The purple team might have one guy in the water, another guy in the water. They only have one guy up here. But they managed to push this team back. And then this purple guy, he's here. If the round ends like this, even though there's only one purple player in the ring, and there's 3 of these guys, he's gained the most territory. So he wins, this purple team wins the round if it gets to the buzzer like this. These guys don't get to come back into play until the next round. And at the next round, they just start in the same starting position. Oh, come on. Oops. So the new round, everybody comes back. Alright. The reason, even though there's 3 rounds, and say the black team wins the first 2 rounds, the reason you play the 3rd round is because even if the purple team is down 2, they might, at any moment in the whole game, in the whole match, they might manage to knock the other team all the way off. And if you can knock all 3 players off inside 1 round, the match is over, you win the whole thing. So, it's just like a boxing match. You can have 10 rounds, and maybe the first fighter has won all 10 rounds, but in the 11th round, the other guy knocks out that guy, he wins because he knocked him out. So even though there's 3 matches, you play all 3 of them, unless there's a knockout. So the referees, I didn't draw them, but this is just a rough, just a map. The referees are on stands that are over here and here, and they're above them like tennis judges. So they're looking down at these lines, making sure people don't step over them in the wrong way. One thing we've got are the water sources. The waterbenders can pull up water from these lines. The lines are actually grates. They're metal grates, and there's a water source below, so they can pull up water. They're not allowed to pull water up from the pit below. They've got to use only this water source. And if this waterbender is here, he's in zone 1, he's only allowed to use water from the front and the back of his zone. If that waterbender is here in zone 2, he's only allowed to use water from the back and the front of that zone. Alright, so that's where the water comes from. And the earth comes from these dispensers that are flush to the surface of the ring. And all it means is, I'll show you another illustration in a minute, but the rock is flush to the ring. And it's the same rule as waterbending. This earthbender here, this guy, he can only use rock discs from the zone that he's standing in. So right now, he can only use these in zone 1. But if he was, back here, he could only use rock discs in zone 3. The idea behind that is that this guy can't pull up a rock disc behind him and then hit him in the back in the back with it or something. It's all in front of him in play. So I think that's the basic idea. I mean, it's pretty simple. It's kind of like football. They're trying to gain territory. So they're getting pushed over these zones, and it's like a zone play. And whoever has the most territory at the end of the round wins, or the most number of players on the field if it's the equal amount of territory, or you get the idea, or they get knocked off, or whoever has the most people on. So that's the basic idea, and then I'll show you how some other things function. So those lines that are all throughout the ring, that are the zones, the water sources, up close you will see that they're actually metal grates. This is the surface of the ring. This is just a cutaway to show. And you can see that there is a water source underneath the grate, and the bender pulls the water up through the grate. So that's where he or she gets their water source. And then the rock discs they're sort of like made of hard clay, so they're heavy and they're solid, but when they hit the player, they break, generally, if they hit hard enough. So they're heavy, they hurt, but they're not like made of slate or something, or like granite, it's not that heavy. Skeet shooting, they shoot the clay pigeon up and they shoot it. The idea is like a heavier version of that. So it's made to break. It's kind of like heavy pottery. So this is the surface of the ring. The players can step. They can step on these rocks. It's just like the ground. But if an earthbender wants to use one of these, he will levitate the rock disc, and it'll pop up. And then there will be a second disc underneath it. And then that disc will raise up and become flush. So we don't see the mechanics. You know, the idea is that there's a little thing that just makes sure it's always level. But we don't see that. We might hear a sound in the animation, but basically it pops the rock up. This one you can see is inside, you know, and then raises back up. It's flush. It's pretty simple. It's kind of like those little disc guns when you're a kid. You can shoot the discs. It's like a spring underneath, and it just keeps loading them. You know. And then we'll send you this file, but this shows the scale of the disc compared to Bolin and Korra and Mako. It looks like the coins, but this centerpiece is solid. It just has a little raised square and a raised edge on it. So the other main things about it's in the rules that we sent you, but with earth strikes and fire strikes, so when they shoot these and when they shoot fire, not allowed to hit a player in the head. It's considered an illegal attack. The players have glass face masks because there will be fire and, you know, rock debris flying around, but still they're not allowed to shoot right in the head. You are allowed to use water. You can use water to shoot somebody in the head. It's okay. They always have to use the water as a liquid. You can't use it like ice because it would be just like the rock. So. Other things. I think that's it. Basics. You know, you can read the rules. Should help you guys out. But yeah, you know, we'll answer any other questions. But I hope that helps.